Would you love to find out how a wonderful physical therapist's dreams and spirit guides have led her to over 20 years of a direct path to success? Her name is Dr. Gina Williams, who combines telehealth physical therapy services with a psychological knowing about people and wanting to reach out to help people through grief, through trauma. And she talks about the holistic benefits of physical therapy for grief and trauma. She talks about her telehealth online physical therapy sessions. So say you hurt a knee and you don't have to go to a physical therapist. She can actually help you on Zoom from your home. Talks all about that, how it's covered by insurance and everything. There's so much in this interview. Come join us. Heartfelt. Many blessings. Hi there, and welcome to the Grief and Rebirth podcast. I'm your host, author and trauma survivor Irene Weinberg, here to encourage you wherever you are in your healing journey. In each episode, I chat with incredible grief and trauma specialists, healers, mediums, and celebs, as well as remarkable people who have inspiring healing stories to share. If you're looking for a podcast that's both uplifting and inspiring, you've found it. Let us help you find your joy in life. Hi, everyone. I am speaking to you today from my studio in West Orange, New Jersey, and I could not be more delighted to have the pleasure of interviewing Dr. Gina Williams, a wonderful New York City gal whose Caribbean native parents taught her the value of working hard and caring for others. Gina pursued studies in pre-med and psychology before earning her PhD in physical therapy. And this multidisciplinary foundation has equipped Gina with a comprehensive understanding of both the physical and psychological aspects of patient care. Gina's approach to physical therapy is holistic, addressing not just the physical symptoms, but also considering the psychological well-being of her patients. Through her physical therapy practice called Mobility Health Physical Therapy, Gina has been providing one-on-one care that has given her the opportunity to both learn and know much about her clients' needs, and she has utilized her many talents to serve others with joy and compassion over the past 18 years. Gina and her Mobility Health Physical Therapy team treat clients in person at Gina's clinic, in their homes in New York City, or via her popular, successful online telehealth sessions, which we will be talking about soon. She says that her dreams and spirit guides, who are always with her, have led to her direct path of success over the past 20 years. And that is a subject I'm very much looking forward to chatting with Gina about. I'm also looking forward to asking Gina about the incidents in her life that have been her catalysts for change, why our mental state is so highly intertwined with our physical well-being, the role physical therapy can play in the healing process for those experiencing grief and trauma, why it is important to find time for ourselves, what inspired Gina to sponsor Grief and Rebirth podcast, and so much more. This will surely be a very informative and enlightening interview with the compassionate, joy-filled Dr. Gina, who I can truly say that I have come to know and who I highly respect. Hi, Gina. I am so happy to have you here. A truly warm, heartfelt welcome to Grief and Rebirth podcast.
Thank you, Irene. I'm so happy to be a part of this Grief and Rebirth podcast today.
Oh, I think you're going to be able to help so many people through this podcast. I can't wait for them to share with me all of the wonderful things about you and who you are and how you help people. It's just marvelous. So let's begin with, telling us about the incidents in your life that became the catalyst for great change and inspired you to become a physical therapist in the first place.
Well, as a child, I've always loved to learn about the human body. And naturally for me, I would, in my free time, read biology books and Encyclopedia Britannica, if anyone could remember that book. And I just gravitated to learning about anatomy and how the body moves. So naturally, when I decided to go to pre-med and study psychology as well, they both fit well together.
It
After,
really,
yes, coincidentally, I didn't realize until after starting the programs that it just works hand in hand. And so while on my year break of studying for my MCAT, which is the entry exam to get into medical school, I worked at different jobs, and none of those jobs that I found were interacting with people. A lot of them were a call center agent where I wouldn't hear someone's voice or someone wouldn't say hello to me. And I would sit in a room alone by myself, and there wasn't a lot of person to person interaction. So after that year of working those different type of jobs, I realized that whatever I did in life, it would have to be interacting with people because that would make me feel happy. And so I use that as a check mark to say, okay, I'm not sure what it is, but I'm one step closer. Whatever I have to do, it must be with people. And I heard about a physical therapy day seminar at my university. And because I had a lot of free time while I was studying for the entry exam for med school, I decided to go. And during that day seminar about physical therapy, I left with a question mark. It sounded very interesting to me. And though I wasn't sold on being a physical therapist at that point, I spent the next year working in physical therapy clinics and volunteering in the hospitals and really asking myself every day, is this something I would like to do? I talk to patients, I talk to doctors, I talk to physical therapists, ask them about their lives and how did they like the career and, what choices they made when they were starting out. And after that year of volunteering, I was sure that I had to be a physical therapist. I had a lot of the medical background and the anatomy background and the knowledge, and it was what I already loved. So I chose to be a physical therapist.
it sounds like it was a perfect fit for you because you got to help people physically, but you also had that psychological piece where you got to meet all these wonderful, amazing people all the time too. So yeah, kind of helped them on two levels, right?
Yes, understanding how the mind works was very important for me to connect that with the healing body. Our mental state has a direct relationship between our physical state. If we're not feeling well, a lot of times that can cause, pains in the body, sometimes ulcers, discomfort, headaches, muscle cramping. And so knowing that there's a mental component to things and understanding that I can help my patients even better.
That's fabulous. And I know you also have a spiritual bet to you because you say you can describe your dreams and spirit guides who you say are always with you. And you also claim that they've led you to a direct path of success over the past 20 years. That's fabulous. Can you tell us a little about that?
That's true. Well, I must say, in my early 20s, I ignored the dreams. It kind of just seemed like, oh, maybe it's a coincidence. In my 30s, I really started to listen because my dreams would happen in real life. And so I remember this one dream. I was talking to a girlfriend. I had this dream about numbers. And then another night, I had the dream about these same numbers. And so I said to my girlfriend, I keep getting this dream about numbers. It's like a nightmare almost. I don't know why I keep dreaming these numbers. And in the third dream, the same numbers came up, but I was in a store, a bodega in New York City, and they sell lottery tickets there. And in the dream, the numbers were on the board showing that these numbers came in the lottery. And so that was my dream. So the next day I went to the bodega to purchase something. And in real life now, not in the dream, I was in the bodega and I look up at the board of the numbers that came, and it was the same numbers in my dream. And
Wow.
so then I knew that my dreams were telling, like it was a loud announcement to say, hey, you need to watch your dreams because there's things that are being told to you that you're not listening to.
Wow.
And so
No, I was going to say, too bad you didn't know that 2 days earlier to rush
Yeah.
by those numbers.
Yes. You know, I started writing them down. Well, someone recommended, writing them down if you don't remember. And, one dream had me working in a colder place, than New York with a little bit more snow. And I couldn't imagine, where, I don't love the cold. My family's from the Caribbean, and where would I gravitate to that was cold? And I was in London visiting family for an extended period of time. And a gentleman came up to me, a stranger in the street, and he stopped me. He said, I have to tell you something. And I said, well, I'm a fortune teller and I have to tell you this. Give me 20 pounds. I said, well, I don't really have any money on me. I'm just taking a walk to the park and I'm going to rent a bike and that's it. And he said, how about 10 pounds? And I said, I'm not trying to haggle you. I don't have any money. Just, I'm sorry. And he said, well, I must tell you this. The job you'll find next will be in some place cold and you'll find it in October.
Wow.
And I said, okay, but I was out of work. I was just searching for what really I needed to do next. And I said, okay, sir. And I didn't even have a return ticket to America yet. So a couple months later, I bought a ticket to come back to America and I was looking for part-time work. And I didn't find part-time work. I found full-time work. And I was encouraged to go on the interview, and it was someplace in Westchester, New York, where they had the recruitment center. And when I went, they told me that the job wasn't in Westchester, New York. It was in Connecticut. And I've never been to the state of Connecticut. And I said, she said, well, go and talk to the person and see. And I went and I was looking for part-time work, but I met with the manager. We talked till 8:00 at night and it was just the right fit. And I accepted that job and I was signing my acceptance letter and I looked at the date. It was October 26th. And I thought back, that's what the gentleman who stopped me in the street said. I'd find my next job in some place, and my dream said someplace cold I'd be working. And there's definitely more snow in New York than Connecticut. At least 10 degrees each day, colder weather. And so I really started to watch my dreams and find the message in there. And a lot of times before I go to bed, I usually try to ask myself a question, or if there's something I'm thinking about and my next adventure or my next business plan or what to do with the kids, I really ask myself that question of what's the next step. And a lot of times I'll get the answer in my dream and I'll wake up and I'll have that moment of, that's what I do. We're going to plan a vacation, in the city, and we don't have to go away this time. And the answer just comes, and it's been quite exciting to go to sleep and then wake up with the answers.
Isn't it wonderful? Because not everybody is that tuned in. They can get tuned in, but it's such a gift that you can do that and it comes to you. And don't you feel very protected also because
I do.
You're being guided.
I feel protected. And there have been incidents in my life where I've been protected. I was driving the whole day on a snowy day in New York, and I'm used to driving in snow. And, I woke up, early the morning and I said, well, I should clean my house from top to bottom, curtains, everything, redo everything. And I did that. And then I went to the mall with my nephew and his mom. And my nephew wanted to drive with me because I have a cool car. And so we drove all around the city that day and had dinner. And then my nephew said, well, he wants to come home with me. And I said, well, go with your mom. You guys are going home. I'll drive by myself, and my nephew went home with his mom. And then I sat in my car and and I was sitting in my car and, put on my seatbelt. But I heard a voice tell me, put on your seatbelt. And I replied, like, I always put on my seatbelt. I'm very safe. And so I just put on my seatbelt, but didn't think of the voice. I just answered back. I put my seatbelt on all the time. 5 minutes later, my car skid on black ice and I got in a car accident. And I was shaken up. I was okay, but I ended up with severe neck and back pain that I ended up to have physical therapy for 10 months and I healed from that. But, I definitely think that voice was one of my spirit guides reminding me to be safe and to protect me.
You probably would have had a much worse accident if you had, your head could have gone through the windshield or whatever.
Possibly, but I've learned to listen. I don't, I may talk back, but I listen to what my guides tell me.
We have that in common, Gina, because, and we talked about that because I also, from the accident and the messages that I got, I really do listen too. And I'm always steered in the right direction. It's so amazing. We do have help if we
Yes.
can open to it, right? So I want to ask you, we're talking about the fact that grief is known to manifest physically in various ways, right? Such as muscle tension, fatigue, and overall physical discomfort. How can physical therapy play? What the role does physical therapy play in the healing process for those who are experiencing grief? Because we're talking about that there are emotional aspects to grief and it alleviates some of the physical symptoms. And I'm sure you deal with people who are grieving all the time.
All the time. And with my model of physical therapy, because it's one-on-one, we get to learn so much more about the person than just their diagnosis in terms of what they're dealing with their life. Having physical therapy can get you back connecting with others, can get your body moving more and healing. The more you move, the more your body will release oxytocin, that hormone that helps you feel good and brings you good emotions and good feelings. The more it can help you get connected with your movement and emotions. So sometimes when things happen, we kind of isolate ourselves. Getting back into a routine of your daily is something that physical therapy can help you get more involved with. And if you're not ready for in person, there's telehealth to still get you, get you up in the morning and in your living room talking to someone and getting your body moving and feeling good.
Which is something that you provide for people, which is wonderful. And I can attest from my own personal experience that after the car accident, I did a combination of physical therapy. And then eventually I also was getting into some emotional therapy. And I found the combination of the two were wonderful for me, helped me so much. So I totally experienced that. And it's terrific. And what about trauma? How does physical therapy also help? Like, could we have people on the podcast who have been through traumatic experiences? So how does it reduce the need for opioids? How does physical therapy help when it comes to trauma?
Trauma is highly related to the physical pain that it may manifest in our body in terms of headaches, ulcers, cramping. Moving your body helps release great hormones to help our body decrease stress, decrease grief, and decrease the trauma that you're feeling.
Which is so terrific and so needed. And I know you also have a wonderful story of helping a beloved grandmother and improving her quality of life. And I'm encouraging everyone to really listen to this story because people who have aging parents or grandparents or whatever, this is a great story, Gina. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, I was called upon to help someone's grandmother. She was 93. She had end stage terminal cancer. She had ended up in the hospital for about 3 to 4 months and became very weak and couldn't walk. So the family wanted me to come in to help them learn how to use a Hoyer lift. And that's a device. If someone can't move, it mechanically helps you move the person in and out of bed so you can take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I agreed to show them and do the family training to show them how to use the Hoyer lift. And when I went in, I met this, little 93-year-old lady, but she was very vibrant and she had dementia, but the look in her eyes, she still had fight. And, she said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I'm Dr. Gina. I'm here to help you." And the daughter, blushing was a little embarrassed, but I felt that her energy and her zeal was what was going to help us get her better. And so the family just wanted to show how to lift her in and out of bed. But I saw more. I saw that if she could move her muscles and move around in bed, maybe we could get her sitting up at the edge of bed possibly. So I asked the family if we could do exercises and mobility training while we demonstrate how to use the Hoyer lift. And they agreed. And the mom had aides to help as well. So I instructed the aides on how to help her, not just have, dress grandma, but have grandma help them dress her. And that alone helped improve her muscle strength. And within 3 months of working with her, she went from completely needing help to get in and out of bed with a machine to walking from her bedroom to her living room to watch her stories that she loved to do for years with a walker, and her family was so happy. And I like to do things like that to make the quality of life as best as possible and improve someone's mobility, because, it wouldn't be fair to just have her be transferred and lie in bed. And she got such great improvement and she was so happy. I mean, by month 2, she was ready to work and said, "Oh, Dr. Gina, come on, I'm ready to walk with you." And it
Oh,
felt
wonderful.
so good to get her moving and vibrant again on her own, without somebody carrying her.
And that points to your tremendous compassion and how you work with so much joy. Because look at how you encouraged her and how she related to you and the family related to you, which is so great. So look at all you're doing for everyone else in the world. You say it's important to find time for ourselves. So how do you accomplish this, Gina, in your really, really busy life? And why is that something that you tell people that is so important to find time for themselves too?
Well, I do have a busy life. I have a business, I have a husband, I have 3 little kids under 4. And, each stage, I try to think of my life as a different stage. So when I didn't have kids, when I had 1 child, when I had 2, when I had 3, and finding a time for myself and a time of the day could be the morning or the evening. But for me, it's getting up a little earlier in the morning when the house is still, when everyone's sleeping. That's when I do my yoga. That's when I exercise. It's when I meditate. And that's when I think about things. And I found days that I make sure I do that. And that's probably most likely 5 to 6 days a week. I feel great. No matter what happens in the day, everything goes well. Even if there's ups and downs in the day, my day really feels complete. And I think about that self-care time as, when you're on an airplane and they tell, families to make sure they put on their own oxygen before the child, you make sure that you have to take care of yourself. If you're not around to take care of your family, then they're not going to have you. So you have to make yourself the priority.
I totally agree with you. I could not agree more. That's really good advice for people to hear. And I've learned, and I always say when they pulled me out of the car and I heard be loving and kind to everyone, that includes us too. And it's so important. You're so right. And now I also want to ask you what motivated you to initiate your popular and successful online telehealth sessions and describe how they work and the conditions you treat through them. I'm sure people are saying she actually does this through Zoom and she helps people through Zoom. So how did all that take place? And wow, how convenient and great that you can do that for people. So tell us about that, Gina.
Well, I'm a planner and I like to think about my life in stages. So I'm thinking about myself in my 60s now as I'm in my 40s. And so, 10 years ago, I was thinking, well, I'm going to have a husband and children one day. And as a physical therapist, a lot of times you have long days and, long nights of paperwork, and it doesn't allow for flexibility of having a family a lot of the times and being the parent you want to be. And so I thought about a need to find a way where I can still do the work that I love and be around my family more, be at home a little bit more. And so I found out about telehealth physical therapy, and I met with a guru who was doing telehealth physical therapy since 2020. So I wasn't a new person on the block, and I took his course and I met with 30 other physical therapists who had telehealth physical therapy as their only and primary business, and they were very successful. So I trained and worked with them. And as I started to see patients, people would get better time after time without having any single in-person visit.
Now, someone presents their symptoms to you and you can see through the Zoom or whatever what's going on with their body.
Yes, we can I could look at their alignment, how they're moving, if they're symmetric, if they're having pain with the movement. Our body's facial expressions and movement tell a story before we even use words, before somebody even touches us. It could be a grimace, it could be a smile, but our emotions are being shown through our eyes and the screen. And so that's what we use. So many clients have come to us for telehealth because they can't get an appointment with their in-person physical therapist for 2 months. And so they'll start with us and they'll say, well, I'm not sure if this will work, but my physical therapy appointment in person is 2 months from now. And as we get started, they start getting better. And 2 months come around, they say, you know what? I'm going to cancel my in-person physical therapy because I'm getting much better.
And how convenient that do this from your home. You don't even have to travel.
Yes. And some people contact us because they had surgery. So if you have a knee surgery and you can't drive for a certain amount of weeks, how are you going to get to therapy if you don't have someone to take you there or don't have the car service? So the telehealth physical therapy is there to help you.
That's marvelous. And do they have to get equipment for themselves, or how do you work that? Like with dumbbells or things that they have to work
So
with?
sometimes it's the $20 dumbbells, elastic bands, very inexpensive things, because a lot of the exercises we use our body. Our body calisthenic exercises can make you as strong as ever. We don't need necessarily a lot of devices. It's kind of like yoga. You have a mat and you have yourself and your body, and you move your body through space, and you can get strong and mobile just that way.
That's fantastic. That's really fantastic. And how can a person arrange an online telehealth session with you? Do they need a doctor's prescription? And do you take insurance? How does all that work?
So you don't need a doctor's prescription. You just call up, our number at 212-499-4962, or you can go to our website at mobilityhealthpt.com and call and schedule an appointment.
There'll also be links to you also. And is there insurance that goes along with it? It just depends on the person's individual insurance.
We do take most major insurances.
That's fabulous. So you don't have to leave home. You take their insurance and you can get help from home. Fantastic. And now the big question I have for you is, could you please share why you became inspired to sponsor Grief and Rebirth podcast? And do you have a special offer for our podcast audience today?
I became inspired to sponsor Grief and Relief podcast because of you, Irene, your story, and hearing about other stories of turning grief into a birth of something great and joyous in the next chapter of their lives.
Thank you so much. And you, through your telehealth services, can help them make the next chapters in their lives a healthier chapter too. And you take away from a lot of the inconvenience of having to run around to do that, right? I mean, it's wonderful.
Of course.
That's wonderful. And you have a discount that you're offering?
Yes. So for any of your listeners, we have a 10% discount on a 10-package physical therapy package.
That's great. And we will link all of that with the show notes and all of that, so people will be able to easily avail themselves of that. And what is the Dr. Gina Williams message about the importance of healing with the help of physical therapy? What would you like to share with everyone?
Well, the importance of healing is you want to make sure you're thinking about taking care of yourself at all times, no matter your schedule, no matter what happens. So let's say you like to travel, but you can't get away this month. Maybe go to a new restaurant in a different town close by where you haven't gone before. If you like, the water and you can't get to Italy, go to your nearest beach and just take a walk or go for a swim. Try to make your goals attainable. If you like connecting with friends, but your schedule is so busy, maybe look at your calendar and every month put on the date to connect with a specific friend, so you don't get so busy that time passes by, you're not connecting with people.
And that's a form of healing when you're connecting with people and keeping yourself well. And do you have another tip for finding joy in life? Or would you say that that's all, it's like a package?
It is like a package. You do want to do the things that make you smile and feel good, in whatever scale, small or big, that you can. And that keeps you going.
And certainly if you've been healing through telehealth, mobility services, or whatever, you're going to be able to feel a lot more joy because you won't have as much pain.
Yeah.
Right? Pulling you down, which is so great. Gina, I am so really honored and thrilled that you've chosen to be a sponsor for Grief and Rebirth podcast. I've had the pleasure of getting to know you and your tremendous integrity And truly, truly, I can say the purity of your intention to help people to heal and the depths of your joy and your compassion. I am so delighted to connect you and your healing telehealth services with the members of my cherished Grief and Rebirth podcast audience, which enables both of us to be of service to others. What a true blessing. And everyone can find the link to your services in the show notes wherever they're listening or watching this interview. I thank you from my heart for this highly informative and enlightening interview that is so filled with joy. And as I like to say, to be continued. Thank you from my heart, Gina. Many blessings, everyone.
Thank you for having me, Irene.